Hello, everyone, and welcome. Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Real tragic case coming out of the University of Georgia. And these cases are like unexplainable, inexplicable. Could you imagine being the parent of a 22-year-old nursing student? Brilliant, beautiful, had everything to live for, had so much to give back to society. And she goes jogging one night on a safe campus, uh, a safe university campus where she jogs all the time. It wasn't even at night. I'm sorry, it was during the daytime, and winds up getting murdered in an inexplicable attack by someone that didn't know her whatsoever, didn't know her at all. Someone that was laying in wait for the right victim to come along. So this person could attack this helpless, well, not helpless, because this woman, this young woman, fought for her life, fought so hard to stay alive. And unfortunately, she lost that fight. And we as citizens, we as parents, we just think of the horror of this random attack. This is the nursing student. Her name is Lakin Riley. She's 22 years old. And of course, as I said, had everything to live for, was an honor student, brilliant, brilliant girl, a runner. Here's better pictures of her right there up on the screen. Just even if you don't know her, it is so heartbreaking to see this, to see what occurred here. And, I've worked cases like this in my homicide career, and you can't. It takes a piece of you as an investigator and as a police, and the cases that we cover, um, even on this channel, on Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm touched all the time by the police across this great nation that I could see take this to heart, take these cases and bring these cases home with them, and work so hard in bringing someone to justice. And that's where, the great part of being a member of the service, it's called a police officer, a member of the service, where it comes in and it really touches your soul. It really does. And because no one becomes a police officer, cop. Cop, I use that term because I was a cop, and it stands for constable on patrol. It comes from the old British bobbies. So when other cop says it, yeah, he's with the cops, it's viewed as almost the camaraderie. But when some nasty civilian says it and means it to be disparaging, because they don't even know what it means, we don't let them say that. It's like using a term that I'm not allowed to use. So I'm just going to go over quickly some of the details of this case. And while we do, we're going to look at the pictures of the victim on the screen, who looks like anything but a victim. So a suspect has been arrested in the killing of Lakin Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student. She actually was a nursing student at the University of Georgia, but she now is was enrolled at Augusta University. So a 26-year-old man was charged on Friday with kidnapping and murdering a nursing student whose body was found in a wooden area at the University of Georgia in Athens the previous day, the authorities announced. This is according to the New York Times. They called the homicide the first in nearly 30 years on campus a crime of opportunity, and said that the two apparently had not known each other. The victim, who you see her picture on the screen, Lakin Riley, 22 years old, was an undergraduate student at the school until the spring of 2023, and then enrolled at Augusta University's nursing program, which has a campus in Athens. She was on Augusta University's fall 2023 Dean's List. Of course, she's a brilliant young lady. University police identified the suspect as Jose Antonio Ibarra, 26, at a news conference. And we'll put a picture of him up on the screen. Um, Calling it heartbreaking time for the university, Jeffrey Clark, chief of university police, said that video footage from our campus security cameras networks helped lead to the arrest. The charges against Mr. Ibarra include murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another, the chief said. This doesn't, as I said, this doesn't get any worse than this is a person, of course. In the police service, we refer to this as a real victim, a real victim going about. And I don't mean that all homicide victims aren't real victims, but this is someone was innocent in every way going about their life, and it's just horrific. So, folks, we're going to go over more of this case, and we're going to talk about some of the things we learned about Jose Ibarra and how maybe this could have been prevented if the letter of the law was followed instead of the law being skirted in many ways in this country. So, guys, hold on to your seats. Get ready. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective, and you're going to get it off the cuff. Police off the cuff.
There has to be some common sense.
Yes, sir. They have the car stopped at 10th and Ranch Michael by there.
We still don't know who pulled the trigger.
The University of Georgia held a press conference, and they spoke about the case, and the chief of police, Jeffrey Clark. I'm going to play some of that press conference. And as I said, you can tell in some of these cases that we cover how much the police take these cases to heart and how it actually rips their hearts apart to work these cases.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Clark, Chief of Police for the University of Georgia Police Department. I want to start off by saying that this is a tragic day, and I want to offer my most sincerest condolences to the grieving family, friends, and campus partners. Before I continue, I want to stress that this is an active investigation, which limits the information that I can share at this time. On February 22nd, 2024, at approximately 12:07 p.m., the University of Georgia Police Department received a call from an individual concerned for a friend who had gone jogging at the intramural fields. Our officers responded to that area and immediately began a search of the area to attempt to locate the individual. Officers located the individuals in the area behind Lake Herrick at approximately 12:38. The individual was unconscious and not breathing and had visible injuries. Officers immediately began rendering medical aid. Emergency medical responders determined that the individual was deceased upon their arrival. The University of Georgia Police Department is actively investigating this tragedy in cooperation with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and also the Athens-Clarke County Police Department. I'd like to thank both of them for lending their assistance during this investigation. We urge the public to continue to avoid this general area while this investigation is ongoing. We also urge anyone with information that could possibly be related to this crime in any kind of way to contact the University of Georgia Police Department immediately. Our phone number is 706-542-2200. At this time, I'll take a few questions.
Sir, do you have a suspect at this point in time?
No, sir.
Well, this is obviously the press conference before they made an arrest, and I just like to say that they did an outstanding job. And investigations like this, there's so much pressure to make an arrest, and they have to keep their heads, and they have to follow investigation to a T, and they did a fantastic job. You know, these cases, again, we found out, and I'll play a little more, but we found out who this guy is, and I'm just going to put his picture up on the screen. I'm going to tell you a little story about him. His name obviously is Jose Ibarra. There's his picture. He's from Venezuela. What they frequently don't tell you right away is Jose Antonio Ibarra entered this country illegally in 2022, September 2022, and he was released for lack of detention space at the border. This was in Texas. He entered the border. Antonio Ibarra is 26 years old, and he was also arrested 5 months ago in New York City, arrested on 9/14/23 in Queens, New York, for injury to a child less than 17 and no license. The reason I'm telling you this is because it used to be the law that anyone that was arrested that was not a citizen or was here illegally, the police department would notify ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and ICE would respond, and they would prepare deportation. They would deport him, this person, out of the country. Because of politics, what they be now, police departments are forbidden to call ICE. So this guy should not have even have been in this country, and that's just so we get that out there. We put that on the table that he was not supposed to be in this country. And, you know, when you say woulda, coulda, shoulda, this would have prevented this case had he been deported. I want to put this up on the screen. There is Lakin Riley.
News on the immigration status that News Nation has tracked down. Tell me.
Yeah, there is. It was sort of left open-ended at the press conference because the chief just said that Ibarra was not a U.S. citizen and that he believed he had come here from Venezuela. But News Nation's Allie Bradley, who is our border correspondent, has confirmed with her sources that Ibarra was, in fact, in the United States illegally. Her sources confirmed that Ibarra crossed the border in September of 2022, crossed over in El Paso, and that he was released due to a lack of detention space, and somehow ended up right here, living right where I'm standing in Athens, Georgia. Homeland Security investigations, ICE, they were part of the arrest today because he is here illegally. Of course, though, he will still be tried in this county. He will be in the county jail. He'll go through the normal process. But because he was here illegally and had crossed the border, the ICE authorities are also now part of the process.
Well, if they find him guilty, he's never leaving America. He got his wish. He will stay in incarceration, probably toe tag parole till he dies, unless Georgia, as I recall, has the death penalty, unless they decide to seek the death penalty in this particular case. The list of charges, I'm going to go over it in a minute and what those charges actually mean, because there's a lot of aggravators that can be tied into those charges. But tell me about the activity in the apartments. Like that's a lot of agencies. Like I think the Homeland Security Investigations, Georgia Bureau of Investigations, Clark County Police, Student Police, and then the feds as well involved, and ICE. So who is searching the apartments, and have you seen them bringing anything out?
Yeah, and by the way, I wanted to remind you, we're waiting on a mugshot. We're hoping to get a mugshot. We're told we're going to get a mugshot.
Well, we obviously have the mugshot now. I showed it to you. So I wanted to get the immigration stuff out there. That obviously, if the law was followed to the letter of the law, he would have gotten deported. When he crossed the border, but the other time when he took the arrest in Queens, New York, in New York City, he would have been deported. However, that did not happen because, as we learned, they're not the NYPD. I know for a fact they're not allowed to call ICE. That was the first thing we would do. When someone was arrested and we determined they were undocumented, they weren't here legally, we would call ICE, and ICE would pick the person up after they were arraigned, after they were charged, and if it wasn't a crime where they would want to prosecute them here, they would have them deported immediately or after it was disposed of. So that's not occurring right now. In this case, one of the things that we also think of is that this guy, Jose Ibarra, here's his mugshot up on the screen. He's 26 years old, right? What do we know about him? Not a lot, right? Because when someone does cross into this country illegally, what comes with them? Can we rely on the criminal records perhaps they had in their own country? Is there any record that our Customs or Border Patrol, ICE, does to check that? So we don't know. This guy could be the baddest of the bad, right? Apparently, when they checked his criminal history, and I don't trust this, he had some, like property crime type stuff, or nothing of a violent nature. So all of a sudden, he went to from 0 to 100 and committing a murder. And this was a crime. You have the chief describe it, a crime of opportunity. He was actually laying in wait. And someone before said in the chat, could this person be the same person that murdered Rachel Marin? And the answer is no, because they have the DNA of that perpetrator. And I predict that perpetrator is also an illegal alien. When they catch him, if they do catch him, I believe they will, they're going to discover he probably fled back to his country. That's one of the problems here. We don't have the records. We don't have their criminal history. We don't have their mugshots. All those things are investigative aids. And when we don't have that, it certainly hinders investigations in this country. I thought the same thing, whoever was thinking about Rachel Marin. This is very similar. Someone laying in wait on a jogging path and attacks this woman, in this case, Laken Riley. And like Rachel Marin, Laken Riley fought for her life. And she died of blunt trauma. So that's unusual in itself. When we talk about murder, they use the acronym MOD, motive, opportunity, and desire. What was his motive? He had the opportunity and the desire, obviously he did. But what was this? And it appears that this wasn't going to be a robbery, right? It wasn't about drugs, which is one of the things that many murders about. So it probably was about an attempted sexual assault, that the victim fought so hard for her life that she thwarted that. I'm going to play a little bit of this. Banfield, a retired Houston homicide detective, talks about this case a little bit, and then he'll talk about what he's being charged with and some of the other things about this case that make it unusual. If I can find how to turn it on here. Let me just wrong one, guys. Sorry. It's I'll get the correct one. It's just a let me pull this up with put this on the screen here.
Yeah, it has, Hannah, because it's just so tragic. This victim was such a beautiful young woman. She had so much to look forward to. Her life tragically taken. We're outside the jail here in Athens, Georgia. This is where the suspect was booked overnight. We know that he cooperated with police, at least somewhat. They say that they were questioning him, and then they brought him here to the jail sometime in the overnight hours. I want to show you the brand new mugshot, though, that we got of this guy overnight. This is Jose Antonio Ibarra. The police chief said that he is not a U.S. citizen, and through our border correspondent, Ali Bradley, we were able to confirm that he is from Venezuela, that he is in the country illegally. Through her sources, she confirmed that he crossed the border in El Paso in 2022, that he was stopped by the Border Patrol there, but because the facilities, the holding facilities are full, he was let go. He somehow ended up here in Athens, Georgia. Police say he brutally murdered 22-year-old Laken Riley near the intramural fields here at the University of Georgia. It's terrible. She was out on a run. Her roommate was concerned when she didn't come home, called the police. They went out and looked, and very quickly they discovered her body in a wooded area. The chief says she suffered blunt force trauma. Right now, Ibarra charged with a number of different things, including malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another. Listen to what the chief told us last night.
The evidence is robust. It is supported by key input from the community, physical evidence, and expert police work. Importantly, we were assisted by video footage from our campus security cameras networks, which proven vital in many cases. At this time, the investigation suggests that they had no relationship. He did not know her at all. I think this was a crime of opportunity where he saw an individual and bad things happen.
I think that's what makes this just so terrifying. You see out there, they're looking through dumpsters. This was yesterday and into last night, all around where that man lived, where Ibarra lived. Obviously, they're looking for something because they went into every single dumpster. They went into every single trash can, going through all of the trash bags. As for the victim, Laken Riley, obviously this entire community is still in shock over this. We know that a vigil is now planned for her Monday at her sorority here in Athens. Hannah?
Brian, you and I have lived in Georgia. We've reported in Georgia. We know this area very, very well. What is the school telling its students? Should they be worried, especially now knowing this was a random attack?
Well, they're telling them now that things are safe. I mean, yes, they were concerned before the arrest was made yesterday. They actually shut down the University of Georgia. They canceled classes until Monday, which is pretty much unprecedented. There has not been a murder here in 40 years. So you can imagine how on edge this campus was, but obviously relief now that this suspect is behind bars. And the chief made very clear they don't believe anyone else is involved, Hannah.
Brian Ensign, live in Georgia. Great reporting as always.
So, you know, one of the things, and I don't want to belabor this point, though, is that when you do a homicide investigation and when you find out who the perpetrator is, you want to know certain questions. Who is he? Where has he been? Where's he come from? What's his criminal history? Very important. You always look at the criminal history. Hopefully that'll explain to you why he did what he did. But in this case, we're not seeing a criminal history. You heard the chief of police say the victim and the perpetrator are not known to each other. Very important, because that puts a different view of it. Not that it makes someone it's known to any less serious, but she was jogging in the afternoon on a safe campus. And someone wrote in the chat before, did she call 911? She couldn't call 911. He beat her in the head. She died of blunt force trauma. She was probably overwhelmed in a blitz style attack, but she's an athlete, so she fought back. That is how she's trained, and she's not going to give up. She's not going to surrender. So she fought this guy, and for it, she lost her life. And so when we investigate these things, yeah, horrifying. Guys are in the chat. It is horrifying. And I think we all need to know that if you're confronted with something like this, it's fight or flight, as they say. And I would choose to fight. I think you should fight because people like this will kill you anyway. If you don't resist, they'll still kill you. So I think it's better to fight. It gives you a much better chance. And obviously, young Laken Riley fought for her life and lost her life with blunt trauma in this case. And here's a guy, that came into this country, does not belong in this country, obviously, came here illegally, and he's committing crimes. He's committing crimes in this country where he doesn't belong. And what does that say about us that that we allow this to happen? It's just unbelievable to try to understand what occurred here, and it's really just disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting that this can happen. I was going to play this before. This was Banfield. Now I got it queued up now, and I'm going to put it up on the screen, and we'll watch a little bit of this. It just explains the case a little better. And here we go.
Phil Waters, he's a retired homicide detective at the Houston Police Department, has investigated more than 400 homicide cases. The list is extensive, Phil, and it can always grow, right? They have the right to add charges later. I do not see rape on this charge. I wanted to get your take, seeing that list and what story that list tells us.
Well, good evening, Ashley. I will tell you what it tells me is that they had asked the chief what was the motivation here, and he said there was no known motivation. Now, there has to be motivation. There's 3 reasons why people murder people: sex, drugs, or money. Obviously, I don't think there's a drug component here. I don't think that he was there hijacking her, so that leaves the sexual assault part of this as a component. It's my speculation, based on what we know, that this assembly of charges here is to ensure that he's going to be tried for a capital crime. And yes, the death penalty will apply. So it'll be up to the prosecutors to see if they're going to pursue that. But the reason you don't see sexual assault here is because it didn't happen. And I think that
folks, it didn't happen because she fought so hard for her life, and she fought him away, and he probably got scared. But before that, he used enough force, blunt trauma, to kill her.
This suspect's motivation was, she may have been a random target, and the chief used an opportunist, a crime of opportunity, which it was. But I got to believe that this guy has been scoping this area out. It's next to the intramural fields. He knows that these college students are running across this area all the time, and he was there looking for this opportunity. And unfortunately, here comes Laken, and it was the time for him to strike. And I think that the reason you have a sexual assault is because she fought him with such ferocity, he wasn't able to accomplish what he was seeking to do.
God, I hope so. And I hope that they've got DNA under her fingernails that will tell an even clearer story. Just quickly, I only have 30 seconds left, but there's a charge of kidnapping and false imprisonment. Now, we know from the O.J. Simpson trial, kidnapping can be, I moved you a few feet against your will. I get that. False imprisonment, though, does that tell you that they discovered her tied up?
I don't know that they discovered her tied up, but he's keeping her in an area and not allowing her to leave. So that may be the elements of false imprisonment in Georgia. That may be the component there for that charge. But like I said, they've got a whole host of charges here to ensure that he's going to be tried, if he is tried, for a capital offense.
You know, again, so sad, this case. But I think it's important to learn something about this. And so many of you put, this reminds us of the Rachel Marin case. And of course, yeah, she was attacked while jogging. I think that a sexual assault was no doubt the motive behind Rachel Marin's attack. And again, she was an athlete. She fought for her life. And as a result, she lost her life. But she fought like this young girl, Laken Riley. The police, as I said, some of these college campuses, of course, they have an unbelievable camera system usually that covers every part of the campus. So the chief who was Chief Jeffrey Clark alluded to the fact that their video surveillance came into play and really helped a great deal with this case in identifying this guy. Like, I want to know much more, of course, about this guy. Like, what was he doing in this country? Did he work? When we talk about perpology, which is the study of the background of the perp, just like when we talk about the victimology, the study of the victim, what was this guy doing? Was he just living in a house? How was he supported? And has he committed any other crimes like this? What, you think this is his first time out? His first time out, he does a murder in the commission of what we believe was going to be a sexual assault. So all of those questions, and I hope the police do a good job on his, and it's already would have been completed, his interview, his interrogation. Let's hope that they got him to confess. And I don't know if they did, but let's hope they interviewed him and he spoke about what he did, because that's the best evidence you can have.
That a person has been taken into custody in the death of this young student, just 22 years old. You're taking a look at some aerials here from that search scene yesterday when this news all came down, but the suspect has been taken into custody in the death of an Augusta University student. Her name is Laken Riley, who was found dead on the campus of the University of Georgia. Now, university officials went on to say that there are no indications of a continuing threat to the UGA campus related to this matter, but it's certainly been a very difficult 24 hours as they learned of the death of a 22-year-old student, a nursing student at a nearby university. And there was also a death the evening prior to that, which we're hearing was a suicide. So a lot that has happened on this campus in this region for students, for families, and community members who are following this story. But a news conference is scheduled for 7 o'clock Eastern today. We will be carrying that live as soon as we get that feed in for you here. But Laken Riley, that 22-year-old girl, she was reported missing by a friend to the UGA's police department around noon yesterday. That caller had informed police that the 22-year-old nursing student had gone for a run near the intramural fields earlier in the day and had not returned home as expected. After receiving that report, officers went to that area as quickly as they could and initiated a search. Around 12:38 p.m., a body was discovered in an area that was forested behind Lake Herrick. UGA police have enlisted the assistance of the Athens-Clarke County Police and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in their ongoing investigation. On Thursday evening, yesterday, we brought you a press conference from police where they talked about the victim, saying that she was a nursing student at Augusta University. Authorities then reassured the public that efforts were underway to locate the person responsible, emphasizing that there was no immediate threat to the community. The cause of her death was also not disclosed. They just said that they believe that foul play.
Well, we know right now her cause of death was, the manner of death, of course, was homicide. And the cause of death was blunt trauma. So what did this savage hit her with? Something, a rock or something like that that caused her death. Responding police officers, they called EMS and they made an attempt to save her life. and apparently when they got there, it was reported that she wasn't breathing. And EMS got there and they tried to resuscitate her, and that was again, it was reported she wasn't breathing when they arrived on the scene. So just a horrific situation.
Was a factor. In response to this tragic incident, students in Athens gathered for a vigil yesterday evening, expressing their desire to come together during what had been, as I mentioned, a very distressing 24 hours on campus. One student saying to our team at Fox 5, it's just like she has to be extra careful and extra protective, and it's a very scary time. Now, that area around Lake Herrick is widely used by students and others for jogging, for working out. Police confirmed yesterday that that victim was, again, a nursing student at a nearby university, and that Laken Riley was a student at UGA through the spring semester of 2023, at which time she transferred to a nursing program nearby. Just a tragic day and evening yesterday for community members there. We're also hearing from a high school that Riley went to, releasing a statement saying our community and our world lost a shining light with the tragic passing of Laken, an outstanding scholar athlete. Laken inspired classmates and teachers with her love of learning and her kindness to all. We ask that community please keep her family in their hearts. So we've seen police today focusing a lot on this home in the Athens area. They spent all day there really investigating. We spoke with a reporter who is outside of that scene talking about how much police have been focusing on this one home. And so at this news conference, we're hoping to learn more about this arrest, this suspect who was taken into custody, as well as what they may have uncovered inside of that home in Athens. More to come on this very developing breaking news story.
So I just wanted to give you an idea of what the crime scene looked like, of what the area she was jogging looked like. You know, someone in the chat wrote, and in fact, I'll put it up on the screen, doing my best, boss. This type of crime needs to be prevented and not solved quickly. Doing my best, boss, I absolutely agree with you. But when it does happen, you want to know that a professional police force will respond with everything they have, not hold back anything, to find out who did this so that this person will never hurt another human being again in his miserable life, you know? And I agree with you. You know, one of my jobs on the NYPD in my 27 year was anti-crime, and which doesn't exist anymore because of basically because it was too effective. And it was a plainclothes unit, and we would target people specifically like this who were looking suspicious, who had no reason to be in a certain area and were just laying around waiting for a victim. That's what we would do. I did that for 6.5 years. And I took people like Jose Ibarra off the street forever, you know? And when you talk about preventing it, yes, that's what you need. You need police presence. You need good plainclothes police out there. But because this happened doesn't mean they weren't doing their job, or they didn't do a good job. I think they did an excellent job. Yes, they didn't prevent it, but you know, you can't always prevent these things. And this is horrific. It's the worst thing that could ever happen. And you know, we all feel for the community. We feel for Laken Riley's mother. They mentioned her mother, and again, she was referred to as a shining star. Yeah. And an inspiration to other students, you know. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, real crime stories, true crime stories. If you like real crime from a police perspective, then you're in the right place. And if you're not subscribed to us, go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell. Of course, hit the like button, share us with your friends and family. Also, if you want to contribute to us financially, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And we also have a YouTube channel membership with count them 5 different levels. And we appreciate all our Patreon family and our YouTube subscribers, friends, family. We appreciate all you guys, and you enable this channel to continue and to do the work that we do. So here's the little thumbnail to this on the screen. they responded to this based on a missing person, basically from her roommate. Said, she went out for a jog at such and such a time, and she hasn't returned yet. That's a heads up roommate, uh, to report that. And then the police went out there and they covered the area. And I think, within a half hour after the report, I think it was that quickly they found her, and then from that and retracing steps and conducting good crime scene protocol, shortly, thereafter, it led to the arrest of this man on the screen, Jose Antonio Ibarra, And what were they looking for, of course, in this? Of course, they would be looking for, I'm sure that they did a search warrant on his house. They would absolutely, one of the first things you would do in a case like this, because Laken Riley fought so hard for her life, is to inspect all of Jose Antonio Ibarra's body, strip him down and take photos of his body, because I'm sure he has wounds on his body from Laken Riley fighting him back, and hopefully she scratched him. And what would that do? What that does from an evidentiary standpoint is she could possibly have this guy's skin underneath her fingernails. And that, of course, is DNA, and that is some of the strongest possible evidence that we could have in this case. And as you see, she may have been small, but she was tough, and she fought as hard as she could for her life. And that's, that's hard. It's heartening, I would say. It's not disheartening. It's heartening that she fought so hard for her life, because it's just a horrific incident. And just think of this on a college campus, that the students now, well, they don't have to fear this guy because he's been arrested. But shouldn't you be able to go out on a jog without worrying about someone killing you, someone attacking you? And, unfortunately, and you never want to victim blame, and I don't want to victim blame here at all, but maybe young women should at least always run with somebody, like a buddy system. Don't jog alone, jog with a friend, There's jogging clubs. And I know joggers like to do it at the time they want to do it, at a specific time every day. And that sometimes could be problematic, but that you want to be as safe as possible. And look, the University of Georgia, according to Brian Enton from News Nation, hasn't had a murder on the campus in 40 years. So that's a pretty good safety record. And the technology on all of these campuses enabled the police to catch this guy quickly. Let's play a little bit of this here.
All right, a very brief initial court appearance for the suspect accused of murdering a nursing student at Augusta University on the UGA campus. This is a story that we have been tracking very closely here on Live Now from Fox as it has been developing. Now, a bit early on this morning, I did have a chance to speak with one of the reporters there at Fox 5 Atlanta as they were covering this story on the ground. I want to play that quick report for you here on Live Now from Fox. The latest now on a developing story on the University of Georgia campus. That is where a nursing student at Augusta University was found murdered a few days ago. Now we're learning a suspect is in custody. Lindsay Tuman with our Fox 5 Atlanta team has been following this story, joining us now from Athens with those details. Good morning, Lindsay. A lot of people are feeling a bit of a sigh of relief knowing that a suspect has been taken into custody.
Yeah, Josh, it was quick work by police and local investigators here. And what they've told us is that 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra is now behind bars here at the Athens Clark County Jail. They brought him into custody last night. They tell us that he is a citizen of Venezuela here in Athens illegally. They also say this appears to be a crime of opportunity. UGA police brought Jose Antonio Ibarra into custody Friday night in connection to the death of 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley.
He has been charged with the following: malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another.
Riley's friend called police on Thursday when she did not return home from a run near the intramural fields on the UGA campus. Police found her unconscious and not breathing in a nearby wooded area behind Lake Herrick. Police say they were able to link 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra to the crime.
He lives here in Athens, but is not a U.S. citizen.
Laken attended UGA through the spring of 2023. She was in the Augusta University nursing program studying in Athens. Investigators say she and the suspect did not appear to know each other.
At this time, the investigation suggests that they had no relationship. He did not know her at all. I think this was a crime of opportunity where he saw an individual and bad things happen.
Investigators spent much of Friday collecting evidence, looking through video footage, and searching the suspect's apartment.
The evidence suggests that this was a solo act. We took 3 or 4 people in custody. However, we're only going to arrest 1 in this case.
Yeah, and that one being Ibarra, who's now behind bars here in the Athens Clark County Jail without bond. No word yet on when he'll face that first appearance, but we're going to be following those developments as they come up. Back to you, Josh.
All right, and Lindsay, we understand that the suspect's brother was also arrested here. What do we know about that?
So from what we've gathered from the U.S. State's attorney or U.S. Attorney's Office is that investigators actually picked up Diego Ibarra. They thought that he matched the description of a suspect in a homicide. They later determined that to be his brother, Jose. But Diego is being charged with providing a false green card, and he could face up to 10 years behind bars for that. Now, he is not being charged at all in connection to this homicide, though. Those are completely unrelated charges.
All right. Thank you so much, Lindsay Tuman there with our Fox 5.
So, folks, that's, he was arraigned, and they just listed the charges. How many previous times do you think that he had scoped out that jogging path? You think this was the first time that he was scoping out that jogging path for a victim? How do we know he doesn't have other victims? That's part of the investigation. But it would be unusual for me to think that this was his first time, that he went out there and was scoping out a jogging path, and he murdered some young 22-year-old girl. Denise Green from the chat, I wonder if he worked, who paid for the apartment, follow the money. Yes, I mean, I wonder that too, but yeah, that's an important thing. That's part of the investigation to find that out. How do they know it was both? Trisha, the only one being charged is Jose Ibarra. It's his brother's not being charged. His brother, I would guess, in the course of the search warrant they did on the home that Jose Ibarra lived in, and his brother, maybe several other people lived in there, that they conducted an investigation and they found some other illegal things pointing toward his brother, and they confiscated it, and he was arrested too. So that's sort of peripheral investigation from this. So, so far, the only one arrested in connection with this, and they believe it was he acted alone. There was no one else involved in this violent crime. It was him, and he acted alone, and he could receive the death penalty for this case. And Georgia has the death penalty. Whether they seek it or not remains to be seen. We talk about this, and as part of the investigation, of course, It's so important that the police do a great job of interviewing, canvassing. What does canvassing means? Means going around that area to see if anyone's seen this guy. Have you seen this guy on campus? There's pictures all over now. It's important that they post on television. If anyone's had any contact with this guy, if anyone's seen him lurking on other days, we'd appreciate you come in and report it to the police. Tell us what you know, because he could have other victims. And it's important when the chief said this investigation is not over with. That's one of the things and some of the things he means, because you don't want a person like this to have any type of chance to beat this case. And the picture you see on the screen right now, there he is in Times Square in Manhattan. I believe that was last year. And he took an arrest, as I said earlier, in Queens, New York, on September 14th, 2023, for injury to a child less than 17, I guess, and driving without a license. And the picture on the bottom, you see him being taken into custody there by the University of Georgia police. So again, there's another picture of him on the screen of being taken into custody by the University of Georgia police. What does this do to this campus, right? Is everyone now on this campus terrified that this happened, or are they in so much grief that terror doesn't enter into it? I don't know the answers to that. I'm sort of rhetorically asking you guys. He worked for UGA, pretty sure, but they're not saying that. There's no evidence out that he had a job at all. So we don't know the answers to that. When I talk about the victimology, the perpology, his study of his background, we want to know everything about him, right? And we hope that and I'm sure they did, that the police that brought him into custody did a good job of interviewing and interrogating him and getting all information possible on this guy, and then using our law enforcement partners. What does that mean? Well, let's use the FBI. Let's use ICE. Let's use the Border Patrol. Let's use every significant law enforcement agency that may have had some contact with this individual, has some information on him, so that we solidify our investigation and make it that much more, that much tougher for a good attorney to represent this guy and have him have any chance of beating this case. JP from the chat, pathetic these current policies forbid cops to call ICE. JP, I 100% agree with you. I think it's really tying the hands of law enforcement. And I think it's despicable, sort of, Vanished and forgotten. Do you think this could be related to the Rachel Marin case? Vanished and forgotten. No, I don't. It's very similar. And again, it can't be the same perp, because first of all, they will take DNA from this guy. All right. Antonio will have his DNA taken, and they will put it in CODIS. That's the combined DNA index system. They'll put it in CODIS, and if it matches any other crimes, Jose Antonio Ibarra will be charged for them. But he doesn't look like the perpetrator in the Rachel Marin case. We had video of him, not his face, but there's people, the victims in California from the Rachel Marin case where he did the home invasion, they got a look at his face. And I should have saved the sketch, and I could have compared it, but not that that's. But the what will eliminate him or include him will be the DNA, and the DNA is a positive identifier in a case like this. But it's a very similar MO, and what do I mean by that? A modus operandi. Here he is waiting on a jogging path where a lot of young women are jogging. He's looking for a victim, and he tries to attack the victim, and it's had to have been about a sexual assault. It was not an attempted robbery. People jogging usually aren't carrying money. you know? It wasn't about drugs, as we said earlier, it had nothing to do with that. So what was the purpose of this attack? It was potentially a sexual assault. And that's why I say it's so important to know more about these individuals than we know. We know nothing about them. They come into this country and they're a blank slate because we're letting them in without any vetting. We don't know who the hell they are, you know? And then to conduct a proper investigation, we don't have the tools to do so, you know? Talks to angels. No, he was likely hunting a victim for his own deviance. Talks to angels, I 100% agree with you. That's what we think this was potentially a sexual assault or an attempted sexual assault. It didn't become a sexual assault because the victim fought so hard for her life and fought this perp. And that's what prevented that. But she lost her life, right? And I said 100%, I think she did the right thing. Fight this savage, you know? PK from the chat. There are video cameras all over that campus, as there are on most campuses, PK, and it's a good thing, you know? It's a good thing that, you know, that's what sort of led to this quick arrest. Zoe 413. I think he may be the guy who killed Rachel Marin. Looks like the same guy. No, it doesn't look like the same guy. And look, Zoe 413, it's the same modus operandi. I 100% agree with that. But they've already probably looked at it, and they could do a CODIS check of his DNA. They undoubtedly swabbed him for a DNA swab, and it's already on its way to CODIS. So he'll be eliminated from contention. Or, you know, if I'm wrong, and the DNA, if the DNA would match if I'm wrong. But I don't think so. I don't think it's the same guy. Everyone's asking me that same question. Is it possible he's Rachel Marin's killer also? Well, again, I don't want to say never, but the DNA, they have his DNA, and they will compare it against that case. And again, 100%, it's the same modus operandi. The same modus operandi of a guy laying on a jogging path, you know? I mean, do you guys think that he looks like the sketch from, you know, from the Rachel Marin case? I don't think he does. I don't think it's the same guy. I don't know, you know, something. Let me see. I'll see if I can pull up the sketch and put it up on the screen. Let's see. But I don't think it's the same guy. And as I said, if it is, they will have his DNA, and they'll be able to match it up. And right now, I don't think it's the same guy. But everyone's pointing to the potential that it could be the same guy, and I applaud you guys because MO is exactly right. It's the same. There we go, guys. There's the sketch. Does it look like this guy? I don't think so. I don't think it looks like the same guy, but hard to compare a sketch to another photo, but that's from the Rachel Marin case. So again, take a good look at this guy in the Rachel Marin case, and then I'll put all guy. Does it look anything like him? I don't think so. I mean, what do you think? This guy's a lot longer and thinner face. This guy's got a round and, you know, do you guys agree with me? You know, if you think that the perpetrator in this case is the same one in the Rachel Marin case, if you think it's the same guy, right? Put a number one, put a 1 in the chat if you think it's the same guy. And remember, we looked at the sketch from the Rachel Marin case, and we looked at the perpetrator from this case. And I don't think it. Yeah, there he is right there. Jose Antonio Ibarra. And here's the sketch of the perpetrator from the Rachel Marin case. I don't see the I don't think it's the same guy. I think Zoe 413 does. I just I don't think it's the same guy. But look, so we all will be satisfied with knowing that they're going to test his DNA. They're going to put his DNA to compare it against that case, and that'll tell us. That'll be the definitive. Fuzzy Doxy, it's not the same, right? 2, not the same. 1, you believe it's the guy. It's not the same. Look, again, I've been wrong before, and I'm big enough to say that too. That I've been wrong before. And let me play a little bit more of this from the Athens TV station here. Get this up on the screen.
UGA police were still searching the suspect's apartment.
On Friday night, UGA police announcing an arrest
Jose Antonio Ibarra.
in the homicide of 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley.
This was an individual who woke up with bad intentions on that day.
A 26-year-old
He did not attend school at the University of Georgia.
who the chief says didn't know Laken, in fact, never met her until Thursday morning.
I think this was a crime of opportunity.
The suspect's apartment, which was searched all day Friday along with several dumpsters and trash cans, backs up to a Coney Forest Park on the UGA campus, where Laken was jogging Thursday morning before she was attacked.
The evidence suggests that this was a solo act.
As to how she was killed,
Blunt force trauma.
while an arrest gives the campus some sense of safety, this heinous crime is a reminder evil can show itself anywhere at any time.
This is a heartbreaking time for the university.
You know, I spoke earlier about how how the police absolutely take this personally. You know, this is a horrific crime on their campus, in their community. It sort of puts an ugly stain on the university. And even though they probably are doing their best to secure that university, you know, bad things come in from outside, you know. Remember that, what I said. Bad things come in outside. It's like bringing someone into your home that you don't trust. Would you do that? No, you know, but sometimes it can occur, right? You can have family members that bring bad people into your home that you don't know about them, you know, and that is a distinct possibility. Folks, if you're looking for a great attorney in the New York metropolitan area, then Joe Murray is your man. Joe's a retired NYPD police officer and a fantastic defense attorney. You can call Joe on his cell phone at 718-514-3855. Email him at joe@jmurray-law.com or go on his website, jmurray-law.com. Joe is not just a fantastic defense attorney, but a huge supporter of the Police Off the Cuff podcast. There's a picture of Joe on the screen right there, and he's supported us for a number of years now. We really, really appreciate it. So, folks, you know, a fast arrest in this case, which is the mark of professionalism with a law enforcement that did a great job. You know, you could see, and you watch the press conference given by Chief Jeffrey Clark, that this is upsetting to him, to the community. It's just, it's horrific. Vanished and forgotten from the chat. So sad. I get so upset that women cannot even just live life without the fear of being attacked. So sad. Yeah, I agree with you. It is sad. But, you know, certain safety precautions. Denise Green from the chat, this could have happened anywhere. Yep. It could. And, you know, as I said, certain safety precautions to take is just maybe when you jog, not to jog alone, you know, have a running partner with you, the buddy system, as they call it. Urban Infidel from the chat. Legal immigration is a great thing, We need new people with skill and drive, but what we have presently is a massive illegal invasion. Yes, urban infidel. I think many people watching this show agree with you, you know. Fuzzy Doxy, look at that creepy guy that killed the poor 11-year-old girl, a friend of the family. Yeah, just we go from case to case, from horrific case to horrific case, you know. H. Cook from the chat. Some Americans have their head in the sand. I was accosted at work 3 weeks ago by a coworker, and no one will address it. Yeah, it's you got to stay after it. Then you got to report it to the proper people. You know. Eliza Krogan. Yes, America, Canada is made up of legal immigrants. Look, there's great people. I'm sure there's some great people that are illegal immigrants too. I'm sure there are, but we as American citizens deserve the protection of our government vetting people that come into this country to find out who they are, where they've been, what they do. And it's important to protect the people that are here to do that. You know, it's important. And I think that's part of what our government should be doing. And right now, it appears they're not doing that. You know, they're not vetting these people at the border. There's the chief on the screen from the press conference. Lakin Riley, all the pictures of her, 22 years old, 22-year-old nursing student. By everyone's calculus, would have been a superstar, would have given back so much with her life, with her devotion to what she was training to be, a nurse, you know. And unfortunately, she lost her life in this, doing something so innocent as jogging, you know, as jogging. She was apparently a cross-country runner in high school, so she was, yeah, she was serious. She was a serious runner, you know. So it's Fuzzy Doxy, H. Cook, my friend, had a guy stalking her that she worked with. The supervisor said, "Get coffee with him and be a." Oh God, that's crazy. That's crazy. So again, we spoke about the. This is the perpetrator, Jose Antonio Ibarra, and just a. So Jose Antonio Ibarra is charged with murder and other counts in the death of nursing student Lakin Riley on the campus of the University of Georgia. He was booked in Clark County Jail Friday and faces charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another in Riley's death, according to the UGA Police Chief Jeffrey Clark. Riley was just 22 years old. Ibarra is 26, and he lives in Athens but is not a U.S. citizen, according to Police Chief Clark. He has no known affiliation with the university. Investigators do not believe Ibarra knew Riley. We spoke about that before. They said Ibarra has a criminal history, but it does not include violence. That they know. I don't know if they have I don't know how much of their criminal history they looked into from his home country, which is Venezuela. The Department of Justice said in a news release that Ibarra is from Venezuela, but did not disclose his immigration status. Well, they already know that without them to. His residence was reported to be Cielo Azul apartment complex on South Millage Avenue in Athens, where investigators were seen searching on Friday before Ibarra's arrest was announced. The apartment are a mile away from the wooded area where Riley's body was found on Thursday, near a trail behind Lake Herrick on the UGA campus. The crime scene is part of Oconee Forest Park, adjacent to the intramural fields and recreation complex. Both are campus facilities. So the UGA murder suspect didn't know the victim. Killing was a crime of opportunity, according to the Chief Clark. So Lake Herrick at UGA is where She was jogging. Laken Riley's family, friends post social media tributes. I believe there's even potentially. I'm actually. I shouldn't even say this. If there's a GoFundMe, I don't know in fact if there is, but it seems like in many of these cases, that's how people respond, and they get they get some solace over the fact that they were able to contribute in some way, and it's it's really what people want to do to help the family and to maybe contribute a little bit to maybe soothe the wounds in some way. And I don't know if it actually does, but that's a picture up on the screen. We
Continue
get
to
this.
learn new information in the killing of Laken Riley. We're still working to separate facts from any misinformation out there. Now, some of you have asked if Laken knew the suspect, and tonight we can verify that that is false. In an update from earlier this evening, UGA Chief of Police Jeff Clark said Laken had no relationship with the suspect, Jose Antonio Ibarra, a 26-year-old man living in Athens. Clark said he was not a student at UGA and called Laken's death an isolated crime of opportunity. Another question is about the multiple people who were taken into custody as part of the investigation. According to Chief Clark, it is true that several people were questioned, but based on evidence, they only needed to make one arrest as they believe this crime was only committed by one person. And another issue of concern tonight, blue light emergency boxes. Many have questioned if there were any on campus, and we can verify that no, there were no such boxes on campus. The university made the decision in 2004 to remove the call boxes after being one of the first campuses in the nation to install them. They said because of the wide usage of cell phones on campus, the boxes were hardly used and costly to upgrade. Instead, university police are promoting the use of the UGA Safe app, which is free and allows users to share their location and report information directly to UGA police. Now, as new information is released, we are continuing to keep you updated on the case. But if you ever hear something that you're not sure about, let us verify it for you. You can send us an email to verify@11alive.com, or you can also text us at this number, 404-885-7600.
That's why it's so good that TV puts that out, because there's so much misinformation, and you want to keep it. You want rumors to end right early. Fuzzy Doxy, thank you so much for the $9.99 super sticker. Very much appreciated. Guys, it's these cases, they seem to be like happening more and more often. It's really upsetting that they do happen. And when they happen, it sort of hurts everyone. It hurts everyone. When they were talking about safety precautions, those blue boxes, does anyone in the chat know a single person on this earth that doesn't have a cell phone? I think that's unusual. John Colombo from the chat, I carry no less than 2 guns on me, not on my watch. Well, I hope they're legal guns. And if you're exercising your Second Amendment abbondanza, as they say in Italian, vanished and forgotten. I like that screen name. Urban Infidel, who knows what he did in Venezuela? Urban Infidel, that should be part of the investigation, is digging. Someone should be doing the research on who this guy is from the time he was born, the schools he went to, what he did in Venezuela, when he, that is absolutely part of this investigation. So, yeah, I think that H. Cook, I can't even bring a firearm on campus in my car. Yeah, well, there's been some restrictions. Eliza Krogan, yeah, kind of wonder if Venezuela has emptied its jails as other countries have. I didn't want this show to become political in that way, but I don't think we can ignore the fact that the perpetrator in this case, on the screen here, Jose Antonio Ibarra, is here illegally. I don't think you can just ignore that. I think that's part of the investigation. And for us not to say it on Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories, we would be remiss in our duties as an investigative show, and not to mention it. Wanda Courtney, hi all. I'm late, but I will replay. Well, Wanda, thank you for coming by. Always good to see you. So you guys are saying hello to Wanda. Talks to Angels. Tasers are available too. Everyone's talking about look, the very least, maybe have a canister of mace. I don't think there's anyone that would tell you not to carry mace if you're a jogger. Just ridiculous. Someone's writing some funny stuff in the chat. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo. Good to see you, Lieutenant Pete. Always good. Lieutenant Pete, Harlem Raiders, 3-2 precinct legend, street crime unit, one of the greatest units ever on the New York City Police Department. Lieutenant Pete was there when I was there. He was a lieutenant of one of the squads, and this was 1988. Yeah, that's when I first met Lieutenant Peter Pranzo. Zoe 413 from the chat. Sounds like she fought hard and tried to call 911. Absolutely. She fought for her life, as we know. And that's why a lot of you guys are putting this case together with the Rachel Marin case. And we spoke about it that Schmitty, I actually do know 3 people that do not have a cell phone. Wow, Schmitty, that's unusual in this day and age that someone doesn't have a cell phone, right? Denise Green, and from the chat, get training on how to protect yourself in the event you find yourself in a situation. Absolutely, always better to be prepared, right? Let's see. Unsolved crimes uncovered. He was shipped back 4 times. I don't know if that's confirmed unsolved crimes, but I have no reason to not believe you if that's true. So to recap it, guys, to recap this whole situation is that nursing student, here she's on the screen, Laken Riley, age 22, a jogger, was murdered while jogging on Thursday by, charged with the crime is Jose Antonio Ibarra, has been arrested. They listed him initially as a person of interest. He's been arrested at this time. Let's hope that they got a confession from him in this case, and they have the strongest case possible, which the chief, Jeffrey Clark of the University of Georgia Police, indicated they did have a very strong case, that they had a lot of evidence against him. So that's what we're all hoping. And, if you believe in God, then, say a prayer for this girl's soul, Laken Riley, her family. You can't imagine. Cara Michelle, we spoke about that before, whether or not this is the same modus operandi as the Rachel Marin case. However, I put this is the sketch of the perpetrator. They believe is the perpetrator from the Rachel Marin case, based on an eyewitness identification that created this sketch from the home invasion from California. So when you compare that sketch with this guy, I don't know. I'm not 100% saying it doesn't look like him. I don't think it does. Would we all love that to be the same guy so we could solve 2 cases from one perpetrator? That would be great, right? But again, here's his photo. Here's his the sketch photo of the perpetrator wanted. The perpetrator wanted for the Rachel Marin case, and here is the mugshot of Jose Ibarra, and I don't see it. I don't think it's the same guy. So we took a little poll before as to who thinks that this is the same guy from the Rachel Marin case. And I think the vote was that it's most likely not the same guy. But so, folks, we're gonna keep our eyes on this case. I was just on a different. I wanted to put something else. So here we go. Liz Gaspari Nutrition. I have utmost respect and love for all our law enforcement guys and gals, especially our NYPD family. Liz Gaspari, I know you've been around for a couple of years. I've seen you in the chat, and it's the first I've seen you in a long time. Welcome back. I'm glad you're back watching Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. Good to see you. Unsolved crimes uncovered. Linda M. Absolutely. Voting isn't very honest anymore. It feels hopeless sometimes. I know you guys get into different conversations in the chat that I can't possibly keep up with while I'm running this show. Wanda Courtney, he looks heavier set than the guy from Rachel's case. Yeah, his face, the shape of his face looks a lot different, you know. Beverly Lawyer, their video of Marin's killer's slim body. Yes, we all watched that video, and look, people can change their look too, lose weight, gain weight, do all of those things. But when you look at like someone's shape of their face, that really doesn't change. Well, if you put on a lot of weight, your face could be fat, but it's still your cheekbones and your bone structure is doesn't really change, you know. So it's Liz Gaspari, good to see you. So, folks, that's about all I have tonight. But, you know, so we're going to follow this case closely. And, you know, we'll bring new information. We'll bring it back to you. And I just, you know, these horrific cases, of course, we cover the Kohberger case in Idaho, the 4 students murdered. And that was one of the most horrific crimes we covered. And then when you get young people getting murdered, it's just, it's a horrible thing. But, you know, it's not going to stop us from covering this. So I want to just, Zoe 413, thank you for showing up. Gigi Levallois, let me see if I can pronounce it right, Gigi. Levallois. Thank you. Watch your surroundings. If you see something, say something. Yeah, that's the mantra of the NYPD after 9/11 was Trisha, thank you for being in the chat. Zoe, welcome. Always good to see all you guys. So, folks, that's about the show for tonight. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I want everyone to have a wonderful night, and thank you for tuning in. And God bless, and we'll see you the next time.
One episode just ain't enough.